about what the Kindle is, how it works, so we all get up to speed for those of us who are not familiar with Kindle, so we can discuss later. And using the Kindle as a tool for change. And the big idea is applying the Kindle in a law school setting. One Kindle to rule them all. Back in November 2007, Amazon came out with the original Kindle. It had 6 inches long. It only held about 200 plus books. Amazon described it as a wireless reading device, or basically an e-reader. Less than 2 years later, Amazon came out with the Kindle 2. That was in February 2009. It's also 6 inches long, and you see one here that I have my own. That's Jean's, this is my own. It holds 1,500 books, over 1,500 books, and it's better than the original Kindle because the battery lasts. If you don't use a wireless, the battery lasts 2 weeks. If you do use a wireless, it lasts 4 days. So it's a longer lifetime, a longer trip. It costs $359. It uses e-ink, but it's not backlit, so you need another light source. It's very light. It's 10.2 ounces, and it's very thin. So it's very easy to copy in to carry in my pocketbook. And you use the Kindle by basically pressing the buttons. Next page, previous page, home, menu. So it's very much quick on things. It only comes in an off-white color. This is very important to me that it's not colorful. And you can change font size. The PDF function is experimental on the Kindle, and I'll tell you what that means. And also MP3s and audible audiobooks are experimental. They're available, but there are some problems with them. You can make notes and highlight text on the Kindle. The Kindle comes with a dictionary, the New Oxford American Dictionary. You can search text in the Kindle. And the other feature that I like, maybe one of the most important features, it has a text-to-speech feature. So the Kindle can read to you. The Kindle 2. Less than 6 months later, Amazon came out with the Kindle DX, June 2009. The Kindle DX, which I don't own, but I know some of you here does. Okay, Jim does. Okay. The Kindle DX is 9.7 inches long, holds 3,500 plus books. PDF is native, not experimental to the Kindle DX, so no problems with PDFs. And I thought it also comes in an off-white color. That's the only color it comes in, right? Yeah. So, but it's supposed to handle, it's $489, and it's supposed to handle textbooks better. It's supposed to replace textbooks. So it was pretty exciting development. Now, about a month after Amazon released the Kindle 2, they released the Kindle for iPhone app. And I don't have an iPhone, so I haven't had a chance to try it. Do any of you guys, have you tried the Kindle for iPhone app? Okay. I talked to Tom Boone, who has it, and he says the thing with the Kindle for iPhone app, as opposed to the other Kindles, is that you can't search on it. Is that right?
True.
Okay. There's no highlighting, that you can't make notes on it. It doesn't come with a dictionary, but it's great. It's okay for leisure reading, so you can.
It's great for an airplane.
Yes, yes. And one thing that I liked about it, maybe it's because I don't own an iPhone, is he says it has touchscreen page turning. So with the normal Kindle, I have, maybe it's because I'm not strong enough, I have to hold on to one end and click on next page and so on. Whereas he just has to, you know, light tap and turn the page that way. So it's less stressful on your phone. And the other thing I like about the iPhone, Kindle for iPhone app, it has book covers on color. This doesn't seem like a big deal to me, but it was like wonderful for me seeing that. Okay, book covers is, I don't think you can see it, but yeah, so this is what's on June's Kindle. And the book covers are basically in black and white. And the list of books that you see are just the text. You don't have the pictures of the book covers next to them, which is another thing the iPhone does really well. And the iPhone for Kindle app also has a Kindle iPhone. Horizontal in addition to vertical page reading. And maybe, I think the DX has that too. The issue of the battery not lasting very long is not a problem with the iPhone, according to Tom Bloom, because he says he recharges his iPhone every night anyway, so not a problem. So that gives you an idea. I read somewhere that Kindle editions account for 35% of Amazon's total book sales. So it's been a pretty successful e-reader for them, but I haven't found comparison with how the other e-readers sell, how it compares with sales of other e-readers. Okay, and on May 1st, I got my Kindle 2. This is a picture that I put up because it was like, ha, 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 I got my Kindle 2. And then on May 6th, Amazon announced the Kindle DX. So I was like, gosh. So I thought I was a little bit ahead of the curve because, it was released February 2009 and I got around to getting it in May. So what's on my Kindle? I guess I'll just tell you about it. So what I have on my Kindle is first thing I have on my Kindle is a blog, Mashable. And Mashable is a blog that tells you about new developments with Twitter or other technologies. I also have on my Kindle Financial Times. You can subscribe to newspapers on the Kindle. They're usually about $9.99 per month to subscribe to a newspaper like the New York Times.
Is that going to be separate if you have existing newspaper subscriptions or digital?
I don't know the answer to that. I know someone asked that yesterday of Sid Becker, and I don't know. Does anyone else know? Do you have other subscriptions? Something to find out later. You can also add Kindle editions to the Kindle, and the Kindle store has over 300,000 books. It costs about $9.99, but the price has gone up. The average book, Kindle edition, is about $9.99. But for some classics and for some genre fiction, like down there I have, I think, Hide in Plain Sight, which is a romance novel. Don't cost very much. And also the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes didn't cost me hardly anything at all. You add content to the Kindle in several ways. You buy the Kindle edition at Amazon.com, and it automatically comes to your Kindle wireless. It takes seconds. It's like magical. But after a while, you get used to it. And the thing is, it's addictive because I find myself just buying things just to see it show up. Which is very entertaining. It's just too sweet to buy things. The other thing you can do is you can upload your own documents onto the Kindle. And that is kind of clunkier. I wanted to, Scott Matheson mentioned to me Cory Doctorow's book, Little Brother, as a great book for me to read. And so I thought I'd add that in the PDF file to my Kindle so I can read it on the plane and things like that. So I uploaded it, but in order for me to do that, I had to email it to an email address at Amazon.com, and then go to Amazon website, and then have it transferred via wireless, which to me is kind of clunky. And the other option is I could also upload documents using the Kindle's USB port.
I'm wondering if Amazon has a way to check if there's a copyright on those emails.
No.
No? Huh. So even though they say they don't allow, oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
I've
you
emailed myself stuff that I don't necessarily own the copyright for.
It's going to be taped. Okay, there's one little trick to it. Some of the uploading of documents is free, but most of the time when you do this, it's 15 cents per megabyte, and the doctoral file is 1.36 megabytes, and they round up to the highest megabyte, so it cost me 30 cents, which doesn't seem like that much, but after I had emailed it to my, I don't know, it's sort of painful somehow. Okay. Also on my Kindle is the new Oxford American Dictionary, so it comes with a dictionary. And I keep on adding more, as I told you. So I just have to avoid being wireless and going to the Kindle store. So what's good about the Kindle 2, and that's what I'm most familiar with, is the Kindle 2, convenience. All the stuff, everything that I've mentioned to you. And the fact that it's wireless means that you can take it camping with you, you can take it to the beach, you can take it anywhere. So it's very handy. The other thing is content. You have many choices from the Kindle store. The only problem is, I mentioned the problems with adding your own content, the clunkiness, I think. And then the text-to-speech feature, even it's a good thing, but publishers can opt out of the text-to-speech feature. So you don't know that the Kindle book, the Kindle edition that you bought can be read to you, basically. And I tried it on the doctoral book because I wanted to hear what it sounded like, and it didn't work on my PDF file. So I don't know whether it's just, like it doesn't work on non-Amazon files.
Probably wouldn't be PDF.
Yeah, yeah. And then some nuances are lost. And I'll show you a demonstration of that later. The other good thing about the Kindle 2 is you can interact with it, you can manipulate, you can bond with your Kindle. Get cozy. So I've listed all the things you can do, and I mentioned some of them before, but June's going to talk about that. It's basically a browser, and you can also have internet access to the Kindle. You can play music on the Kindle, and I was playing some of that beforehand. You can change font sizes, and the Kindle can read to you, which is a text-to-speech feature. So I was going to demo this because I want to show you what I think is the problem with the feature. So give me a second. And I have it on the slide too, but I thought maybe you guys can see that. So I decided to, Red and Me is a new book that I got because I'm a big basketball fan, and Bill Russell just impresses the heck out of me. So does Red Auerbach. So this is about Red Auerbach and Bill Russell of the Boston Celtics. And I'm gonna try to see if we can play text-to-speech, the prologue. So I want to start text-to-speech. I hope it works.
Prologue, don't fall. Red Auerbach and I were friends our whole adult lives almost 50 years, but we never talked about it. That was part of why the friendship worked. He always knew he was one of the few people I cared a great deal about, and I always knew I was one of the few people he cared a great deal about. It didn't have to be said. When I joined the Boston Celtics in 1956, I didn't know much about Red Auerbach as a coach, and I didn't care about him. Since my relationships with my previous coaches in college and on the U.S. Olympic team were unfriendly, I just expected another adversarial relationship.
Okay. So that's what I wanted to point out, that it's not, unlike regular audiobooks where a professional is reading it, it doesn't understand context. So it didn't know that lives and lives, you know, is a different context, and that it's the Boston Celtics, not the Boston Celtics. And so listening to it, I kept on speaking to it like, it's Celtics, it's Celtics. It's important to me, I think. Okay, and you can also highlight things which I mentioned, but I wanted to show you what it looks like just because this is how I highlighted it in law school, which wasn't a good idea. Half the book. Okay. And you can also add notes. So I added a note to the copy of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes that I uploaded because they had some mention about someone editing it, and I'm like, is this the definitive version? I forgot who was talking about yesterday the final authentic version, but it kind of worries me that I can get from the Kindle, that I can upload from the Kindle store a version that's not the definitive final version of something. Okay, Kindle disconnects. I have 10 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to speed up real quickly. I list them all, and I think all of them are pretty obvious, except I didn't mention that the Kindle only handles materials that are not digital content is not device agnostic. If you have a Kindle edition, you can't read it on anything but an iPhone and a Kindle. You can't read it on anything else. And another thing that, two other things is that the Kindle is only available in the U.S. for now. So our Canadian colleagues in other countries can't experience the wonder of cuddling up with the Kindle. So, but that's going to change. I think that Amazon is working on something where people in the UK can have access to the Kindle. And two other things I want to mention about disconnects. There are questions of whether the Amazon's terms of use or service allows you to lend the Kindle, and there are issues like I think you asked about content. There are issues of gifting content and saving content. And a big issue for me is that the Kindle is bland and colorless. I don't think it appeals to people unless you're a big reader and you want to go towards some of the other features of the Kindle that are good. And three things that are not here, because I just couldn't stop myself, but it'll be quick. There's no new book smell. Touch and feel, some people like to hold the book. There's no pagination. There's a Kindle type of pagination, but you can't not a real page number for Kindle books. And I don't like the fact that the stuff that I've loaded is not in alphabetical order. So I'm wondering, once I get the 1,500 books, how do I find them except for searching for titles? So it's kind of weird.
You can change the order.
Okay, good. So the concept of a Kindle, the big idea of the Kindle as a portable library for law schools, I've listed some of these things. They could replace heavy casebooks, so students don't have to lug them around. Faculty and students can load working papers, court opinions, law review articles, statutes, basically all types of documents onto the Kindle. You can have recreational reading on it, course packets, conference papers. You can load MP3s, and the annotation and so on. I have here link out to reference text. That means basically using a web browser. There's no hyperlink from within sources in the Kindle. So, June is going to talk to you about some of the applications. I'm going to spend my next 5 minutes kind of reading to you some testimonials about the Kindle. But I wanted to mention that I wanted to have you listen to David Curry read the U.S. Constitution on MP3. But the MP3 is an experimental feature. So the whole 42-something megabytes of his reading the Constitution is buried in there with my Yoko Ono music and all sort of stuff in the experimental section. So I can't just pick it out and have you listen to it. Okay, testimonials. And I'm going to be really quick here because they take a while, but I think you guys would be really interested in what people have to say about using the Kindle. So, all right, you guys can read this on the web. Oh, that's okay. All right, testimonials. I did a survey on Twitter, Technoids, that's for like, you guys know, CSSIS list, that's a Computing Services SIS, about the number of faculty members that own Kindles in their law school. I got 21 responses. 61 librarians volunteered that they own the Kindle. Out of the 21 responses, the libraries reporting, 9 libraries reported no faculty member owned Kindles. 11 libraries reported a few, which is, I took it as 1 to 4, but I think it's more like 1 to 2 rather than 3 to 4, so very few. And only 1 library reported having 5 faculty members or more owning the Kindle, and it's closer to 5. So as popular as the Kindle seems to be, it doesn't seem to have reached the law school market. I thought I'd review some of the comments that they made. Some faculty have little or no interest in the Kindle, but some libraries have a good amount of interest. A lot of them said the students are not interested in the Kindle, and one said students don't engage in recreational reading. So it's like, why would they have a Kindle anyway? Another one, this is an example of how the Kindle gets a foot in. Our dean got one because our parent university gave one to all the deans to introduce the concept of the Kindle to them. I think this is a great idea. Free Kindles for everyone. And then someone said, I use Kindles strictly for personal friends. And one of them said, we don't use the Kindle in class, which I started me thinking, why not? And The one person, and he told me it's okay to say his name, who said they had 5 or more faculty with Kindles. I'm going to read you 3 emails from him. It's very important. Charlie Sullivan from Seton Hall Law School. We bought 5 Kindles and 5 Sony Readers for the library and loaded them with a variety of books. The Kindles are pretty popular, mostly with faculty, but increasingly with students. The Sonys, not so much. Maybe because of functionality, but maybe also because they like the PR. We ordered another 5 Kindles. So this is Seton Hall people have like 10 Kindles floating around to borrow. In addition, my guess is that another 5 faculty, me included, have purchased their own Kindles. Then he says, as for functionality, the huge advantage of the Kindle is the ability to download from anywhere without the need for a computer. Sony didn't have that originally, and I don't think does now, but I haven't checked. I wouldn't travel without my Kindle, although, admittedly, I wouldn't need a book on it if the paper version were anywhere on hand. And then he has this other thing related. A few random thoughts. I'm having the library buy 5 more Kindles for borrowing. The reading feature is cool, but probably would get annoying if used for very long, especially for fiction. And as you noticed, it annoyed me a whole lot. So, Celtics. Okay. I can imagine listening to it on a long trip when I was too tired to read, but not much of a substitute for a recorded book read by a professional. I'm having my staff experiment with the upload-download feature, both in terms of price and in terms of speed. I can imagine, for example, producing scholarship for the AALS Faculty Recruitment Conference, American Association of Law Schools, in this format to eliminate the need for the huge binders we currently use. My staff was worried about what would happen if a patron didn't return his or her Kindle. Apparently, we're not good at collecting fines for late books before students graduate. The problem hasn't arisen yet, but speaking of your fear of dropping it, because I told them that I'm always worried that I drop the Kindle or lose it somewhere. A faculty member did manage to crack the screen of one. From a library perspective, there's also the problem of whether users are allowed to download books. We chose not for obvious reasons. I was tempted to allow borrowers to do so. They would pay the cost and dedicate the purchase volume to the library, but defer to the staff. For this reason, I chose not to allow downloading of newspapers, although there seems to be an inevitable step with the newest big screen version, the Kindle DX. I'm a Kindle fan, but I never think I'm reading a book. I have to hit the next page too frequently, and the fact that I'm only looking at one part of one page rather than having 2 pages open for me deprives me of context. I didn't realize how often I looked back when I read until I started using the Kindle. So it tells you something about how people read. I think I better talk about Jim Mills too. Jim Mills did a test on the Kindle 2, and he downloaded cases and journal articles in Word from the Kindle and found out that Westlaw's Word format is better than Nexus's for the Kindle. LexisNexis's Word does not preserve footnotes well. With downloaded Word documents from Westlaw, the footnotes are preserved and the hypertext links work. So footnotes do kind of work depending on where the content is coming from. Right? So he says this is one of my favorite features. Much easier to me than flipping back and forth in a printed article downloaded from Westlaw. You cannot cite to Kindle documents because Kindle books don't have page numbers. However, for law users, there are 2 easy workarounds. Get the page numbers you need from the Amazon Book Preview or Google Books, or let the journal site checkers do it. PDF cases for Westlaw are too small to read on the Kindle screen, so you must use Westlaw's Word format. And this has changed with the Kindle documents. I have 3 testimonies from faculty, but I'm going to ask June. They're not very long, if that's a problem. I could tell them afterwards. Okay, so my ending is the Kindle can be an awesome killer app, but it's not there yet. I love it, but it's not awesome yet. So it's not awesome like Luke Chamberlain.
having to turn the page too often. My experience has been, it was kind of like watching a foreign film. You read the text on the bottom of the screen, and after a while, you don't even realize you're reading it. You know, for me, I got to the point where I can predict where I need to turn the page because I know exactly how long it takes to turn the page. So I press the button before I get to the bottom of the screen. So, you know, I'm constantly reading, so I don't even notice the page turn anymore. So I guess you just adapt. But anyway, my name is Jen Liebert, and I started somebody today. I'm kind of an oddball kind of person here because I was an IT person. I ran IT, so I'm a little bit of a geek. But now I'm running a library at John Marshall Law School, and I'm also a professor. So I'm kind of 3 in 1. So I have kind of a different perspective, possibly. So my story is this. Back in January of this year, I was at ALS in San Diego, and a friend of mine, my roommate, showed up and said, "Oh, did you see there's this great book that just came out?" And it was like the second series of this new book. I can't remember the name of it, but I loved it. And I had to have this book. Anybody who knows me, I get fixated on something. I had to have it. So I dragged her around downtown San Diego trying to find the Barnes & Noble store, hoping that they would have this book. Fortunately for her, they did, and we did find it eventually. But, you know, it was really kind of this odd experience. I cannot believe, as a librarian, I'm running around downtown San Diego trying to find the bookstore. So when the Kindle 2 was announced, I bought it the first day you could buy it. And it actually arrived the day before it was actually available. So I've had mine since February, and I love it. Now, I also live in Chicago, so I live in the suburbs. I have a 25-minute train ride each direction. I also do a 12 to 15-minute walk between the train station and where I work, which in minus 35-degree wind chill, you really don't want to be lugging giant books around, which is what I was doing. So the Kindle has completely changed my life. I mean, I don't have to carry stuff. And what I also discovered is I don't even have to carry work. I upload all my documents to it, and I just read it. So it's much better. So some of these are my list of benefits. Some of them do overlap, but I wanted to point out I now wear bifocals, partially because I was trying to read my smartphone on the train, and that was a horrible experience. I kind of went blind, so I now have bifocals. But what I discovered is I can change the font size, and someone asked me how big you can make the font. And the answer is really, really big. Really, really big. Of course, now the drawback is you are going to be turning pages every 2 seconds. But you can read it. And I can actually read this and not be blind when I get off the train, which is a new experience for me. And the honesty is, I can't even read a paper book anymore because I want to increase the font. And I can't, and it makes me mad. So you get spoiled. I also love free sample downloads because when I first got my Kindle, I did the crazy buying everything in sight thing she was talking about, and I was going broke, and my husband was going, "Hey, what are you doing?" So what I started doing is I forced myself to download the sample first. If I can make it, my deal is, if I can make it all the way to the last page of the sample, I allow myself to buy the book. But I don't buy it otherwise. So if I don't make it to the end, I don't buy it. And, you know, it works out. I save myself a lot of money. And you'll see a lot of samples on my list as a result. The last thing I love is the price. What I did discover, though, is that if it's a brand new item that just came out today, tomorrow, the price is about $16, $17, which is about the same price as the print. So I actually started buying the printed it because then I can give it to somebody else when I'm done with it, or I can donate it to the library. So that was the only sort of unfortunate thing that I discovered is, you know, if it's brand new, it's more expensive. Lots of drawbacks, unfortunately. As much as I love it, even books that I buy, I find errors in the digital text. Words jammed together, just weird spacing problems. It surprised me. I expected more. Some have table of contents, some don't. Incredibly annoying, especially if you're not reading a novel. Very annoying. What she was talking about, having a giant list of 1,500 books, there's only 3 ways to sort. I think it's when the last book you read, so it's by when you read it last, by title, and I forget the third option. Author. Not useful. I want to group it by type of book. Yes.
And if author doesn't work, because depending on how they input it in the database, you get first name last or last name.
Okay. So sometimes it's first name, it's sometimes by last name. So unfortunately, this was not something they fixed between 1 and 2. It's really annoying. The whole non-standard format issue. You can't read books from other vendors. This was also annoying. It's not tied into Amazon.com closely enough. So I have a whole wish list where I basically keep things that I want to read, but I can't access them on my Kindle, which seems incredibly stupid to me. And a little bit of what she was talking about, it's really kind of ugly. You don't get a lot of pictures. There's only one font. You can change the size, but it's still only one font. All right, so these were just some ideas I had after I did all this research. Why not use it to upload content that you created? If you are a library, upload your guides. If you're an IT shop and you have how to do instructional things, why not upload those? You can let people borrow those. Why not prospective students? Put maps in. Give it to them. Well, maybe check it out to them when they come in the door, and then just take it back when they're done. In a library, now this is where it gets a little hinky because, as she said, it's not clear whether libraries can actually loan Kindles with content that was purchased from Amazon to other people. But assuming it's possible, depends on how you read their license. Assuming it's possible, why not? I was thinking, gosh, I could have a Kindle for contracts, and it could have 10, 20, 30 different texts for contracts. So a student who's working on it, I could loan them the contracts Kindle. Study aids. This is probably the one thing that I know both Westville and Lexis are looking at. In fact, Aspen has already done, although not on the Kindle, but the idea of having electronic titles for study aids. If you're a student, why not put your class notes on it? One of the things I did, which I won't show you, but Berkeley, they have a bank of outlines. I just downloaded one of those, put it on here. It's not beautiful, but it's you can read it. And then this last idea, it's kind of an interesting one. You know, students don't like carrying these giant heavy books. So what many of them do is they razor the spine off, and then they hole punch it, and they just bring the pages they need to class. Why not scan them? It's kind of an interesting idea. Scan them, put it on your Kindle. It's your personally owned copy. You're not selling it, hopefully. So anyway, just an idea. So there are all these other features. Now, one other thing you should know about me is I'm incredibly cheap. I don't want to pay 15 cents to email the thing to myself. So what I've been doing is I actually convert the document using MobiPocket Creator. So if I have a PDF file or a Word file, you can actually download the free MobiPocket Creator program and then run it through, and you end up with a .prc file, which I can then download onto my Kindle. example of one. Oops, sorry. Still. So this is a case book that somebody put together at Lewis and Clark, and she put it out there as kind of an open source, but hope you'll donate to me kind of thing. And I just tried it out to see, and it was okay. It's certainly readable. Again, it's not perfect. Sometimes it screws up, especially when you have funny characters. Every once in a while, it looks a little strange. So that's a pretty good use. Now, I also did not purchase any blogs to download. And the reason is because the web browser is okay. You could actually, for example, if you set up the Google Reader or Bloglines, you could actually read your blogs through the web browser. It works pretty well. And it also even has this lovely picture viewer. I just uploaded a few random pictures. So this is somebody buying the first iPhone in Boulder, apparently. These are all the Creative Commons. So these are just some random Boulder pictures that I uploaded. My favorites. So you get the idea. The funny thing about the picture viewer, they don't tell you that you can do this. It's not obvious at all. There are no instructions for this. And the only reason I discovered this is because I purchased how to use Kindle to books, which I have listed at the end of this. So highly recommend it. They're very I think they're like, one was $3, the other one was $5 or $6. So if you purchase a Kindle, I highly recommend you buy one of these books. And then last are the Easter eggs. You can play Minesweeper. You can take screenshots. You can display the time, which sounds really silly, but I didn't know you could. In the first couple months, I kept cursing at the thing. Why don't you tell me what time it is? All right, it actually does. It's on the menu. Screenshot. This is a really neat feature because I had this cookbook on there, which was free, I might add, and it annoyed me that I could not print it out because there's this great recipe, and I wasn't about to cook with my Kindle in front of me. So I discovered you can take screenshots. It just sends it out as a JPEG, I believe, GIF. I think it's a GIF. And it's a pretty good quality. So, using it in law school, I kind of divided the idea of the Kindle, which is this concept of electronic books generally. And I see really three areas. There's the tools piece, there's the content piece. So tools is how do you read the thing, right? Content is what's in it. And then access is how do you get it. In a law school environment, this is a little tough. Tools, do students really want to be carrying yet another device? They've got their smartphones, they've got their laptops, they're making the same walk I am. Do they really want to add yet another device? Especially, even though it's thin, it's still pretty wide. It's tall. So, I think the main thing is, does it have the functionality you need? Somebody was telling me a story about how he had a faculty member who loved to pace the hallways because he would read and notate at the same time. I can't even notate. It's hard enough to notate. I can't do it sitting down. So I cannot imagine this man walking around notating. But it can be done. Content. Does it really make sense to read case books on a Kindle versus, a piece of paper that you can write on? I don't know. And then, of course, access. Do you really want all of your students to be buying everything from Amazon? Or, what happens to your bookstore? I mean, it's really kind of an interesting thing. I found this interesting study in August of 2008. there's a nonprofit organization called Make Textbooks Affordable. Clearly, they have a particular bias. But they did this survey of 504 students, and what they found was that they weren't accessible enough, which is funny, it's electronic. They weren't really affordable enough because they usually charge the same price, and they couldn't print them. And in their study, which surprised me again, 75% of the students they surveyed preferred a printed textbook to an electronic. And, Leo and I actually talked to some people at West and Lexis, and that's what they also found, is that students really preferred print, which you may find, I found that surprising. I thought I was alike. Okay. What they recommended in the study, though, is that we go to an open textbook society. Everything's free. We do it out of the goodness of our hearts. This is all lovely. Take it for what it's worth. Now, Aspen has actually tried two interesting projects. One's called teachinglaw.com. They have it's an interactive coursebook platform. There are only 2 books in it. They're both legal research books. But it's an interesting project. The other one is Aspen Law Study Desk. I picked up a CD out here so you can ask a bit more about it. But again, it's not device-oriented, it's more software-oriented for a laptop. And of course, the content side, I wasn't even going to try and talk about it because there was an entire conference about content. And if you get a chance, the recordings are actually online. So if you want to listen to any of it, Gene Koo actually recorded it all and it's available. So you might want to take a look at it. He also summarized the daily events. So it's an easy way to kind of find out what they talked about. And last but not least, I love this idea that Callie had, which is, thank you, John, this legal education commons concept. Fabulous. One of the things that they talked about at the legal coursebook workshop, I believe, John, correct me, is this idea that you can kind of create your own coursebooks by taking pieces from all these other places and mashing it all together. So maybe that's the future of our next generation of coursebooks. This is one way to do it. I took an interesting story that Gene Koo posted on his blog, which was, he posted this, Kindle won't catch fire in law schools, back in 2007. And what he said was, there are 3 things wrong with it. Screen too small. Well, that's been solved. We have the text, it's almost the same size as a piece of paper. Monotone highlighting. Sorry, well, yes, it is still monotone, but that may be solved soon too. Hard to annotate. This is the one that I think is going to be incredibly hard to overcome. This is actually a tablet, and even that is hard to write on. You can't really write on the margins. It's very difficult. So, I don't know. This is going to be a big problem that I think is going to take probably the longest time to solve. But, as I said, some of these problems have been solved. This is the Sony Reader. Personally, for my library, I was thinking the Sony Reader might not be a bad solution. I don't have to worry about students accidentally downloading a book, whatever. And I can upload whatever I want, control the content. The one on the left, by the way, is the special Daniel Steele color, just for you, Bill. It's the Daniel Steele edition. Netlibrary also has an interesting project. You can actually purchase a Sony Reader with access to their a big chunk of their collection. There's 30 some odd titles roughly for $500 to $1,000. It's an interesting project. So, and I know they've been talking to Amazon. I don't know if they're going to get anywhere, but the idea is really something that I think is good direction to go. are 1 million of these ebook readers, and they come in a variety of colors, some of them. This is one that's only available in Japan today, but it uses the e-ink technology, and it's in color. So color e-ink does exist. It's just phenomenally expensive. It's still, you know, $2,000, this particular one. This is another new one. Instead of putting it under glass, which is part of what makes this so heavy, it's not really that heavy, but, and also what makes it fragile, is this one actually uses plastics. As you can see, the e-ink coats the plastic, which is very bendable. It's also very, very flat.
It's also 8.5 by 11.
Yeah, I mean, and that one is supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be available sometime spring 2010. It was supposed to be available 2009 spring, but it never came out, so.
January 2010.
Thank you. Somebody's been waiting, I can tell. What's neat about that one, though, is you can, it's a touch screen. So I don't know if you noticed, but there's no keyboard. So it has a virtual keyboard, and you can highlight, just highlighting with your finger. So the potential of it is, I mean, very great. I was just want to mention this electronic ink. One question I get asked all the time is, where's the light? There is no light on this, and the reason is because it's just negatively and positively charged particles. One's black, one's white, and depending on which charge you give it, that's what comes up on top. So when it's turned off, like it is here, it's using absolutely no electricity. There's no energy being consumed because it's just a state that it's in. So that's why these things last so long in terms of battery power. This is another new one, the Pixel Chi display. It is a regular LCD display, except it has an on-off switch for the backlight. So what's interesting is, if you're in a room like this, you could turn on the backlight, you have color. If you go outside, you can turn off the backlight. And then it becomes very much like e-ink. It's black and white, but it's reflective. It takes whatever daylight's out there. It doesn't fade. So this one has a lot of potential. The white is not as white apparently, but it's something to look for pretty soon. And of course, last but not least, you can't read this. It says, "Hi folks, I'm the new Kindle dude. Don't you love my new, almost designed by Apple look? And wow, check out my grayscale screen. It's just like reading a book or magazine without those pesky colors. And there's this glowing thing in the back. Kindle, it's me. Who's there? Go away. I am the Mac tablet. I'm coming. No, you don't exist. You will never exist." And at the very bottom it says, "Jeff Bezos' last worst nightmare." So, you know, this is the thing that I think most people are waiting for, is this idea of the Apple iPad. No one's actually seen it. It's supposedly a larger iPhone, essentially, a combination of an iPhone and a tablet. No one's actually seen it. I was reading, though, the other day that apparently Apple purchased a whole bunch of screens, touch screens, large touch screens, so they're working on something. So we'll see. But, you know, will that be the Kindle killer? Possibly. It depends on what kind of content they can get. Okay, the other thing that's happened is Google recently announced that they are starting a new ebook storefront. And the main difference is it remains entirely online, it's device agnostic, and they claim they're going to let publishers set their own list prices. So we'll see. They also claim it's going to be available at the end of the year. So this could be an interesting development also. All right, so that's it for me. I'm sorry I took a really long time, but you can still read your testimonials. I did tag a bunch of Kindle sites, mostly blogs, so it's a good way to keep up with with new features and new changes, things you can do with your Kindle. So if you just go to this website, you can take a look at the things I tag. And then these are the two books I actually use, Kindle 2 Cookbook and the Complete User's Guide. So, and I didn't know, I wanted to give Jim a chance to kind of chime in to see if there's anything you wanted to add, if there's something we forgot.
I've been chiming along on Twitter.
Oh, just read Twitter.
How do we compare sizes on these devices?
Okay.
Just figure out how to get those together.
Oh, that's one of the features of the room, once you get in.
Sit down and take what you want. You should never leave.
Yeah. So this is the. Oh, thank you. We're on camera.
Yes.
Hi. So this is the Kindle 2, and here's the VX. And a couple of things that I just wanted to mention, like with the voice, speech to text, speech option. Obviously, it's not meant to replace audiobooks. It's meant as an adaptive feature, but which makes the Authors Guild a lawsuit against Amazon to shut that off, which is why it's been disabled. Even stupider, because it doesn't compete with audiobooks. But what they've done is further disadvantage disabled people. I don't find transferring material, PDFs, to this clunky at all. I find it very easy. When we got in the airport Wednesday, I checked my iPhone, got an email from John Mayerson with the schedule and the agenda for the conference. I emailed it from my iPhone to my Kindle, and I had it on my Kindle. And to me, the 15 cents a megabyte or gigabyte, whatever it is worth the convenience to just be able to, upload things in one button like that. I guess the only thing I would add is, like I was saying to people who are following through, this is like, we're nitpicking about this device, those of us who liked it, but it's like, I can say bad things about my little brother, you better not say bad things about it. I love my Kindle. I think there are certainly there's room for improvement, but this is the first device, and I had a Sony e-reader and I didn't like it. The biggest problem with the Sony reader for me was the lack of titles available in their bookstore, and Amazon has an excellent selection available. I think the biggest problems or obstacles to adoption of devices like this in law schools right now are not technical, they're licensing issues. Things like Amazon has, they know everything I've ever bought from Amazon. I would like to be able to go to Amazon, find a book that I bought in print 2 years ago, and say, I'd like to get it on a Kindle for 99 cents. That would be great. Yeah. And as we were saying earlier today, there's no reason, I would just as soon cut out the publishers of casebooks at least altogether, and there's no reason that law schools can't publish, self-publish these things, except for inertia and all the other institutional reasons that law schools don't do this, but technically there's no reason we couldn't do it, because anyone can publish content as a Kindle edition. Just upload it, and it's there. And other things, I think, we're going to get color in a few years. We're going to get other things like that. So I think this is like I said, it's the first device that for me really competes. And I would love to be able to buy books for 99 cents that I've already bought in print, but I haven't waited. I've got a bunch of books here that I already bought in print just because it's so much easier. And so I really like it.
How much heavier is the VX than
Well, maybe twice as heavy, I guess. It's not terribly. It's lighter than a casebook. It's lighter than 5 casebooks, which is what they're carrying around right now, right?
And how do you back it up?
Everything you buy on Amazon is backed up on Amazon.
So if you lose it or if
Or-
it blows up?
Or,
Or if you transfer it.
yeah.
When
You
I'm,
need his old one.
yeah.
And I just registered it as myself, went into my Amazon account, downloaded those things that I had from a previous version, and it was not a problem.
I want to know, did you still see his ones, his Kindle editions? Or?
Initially, yes, but I couldn't archive them.
Right. Well, that's the other thing. If you delete something from here, it's still archived on Amazon.
Yeah.
So whenever you want to get it back, it's just a button click away and you get it back.
So you don't have to carry
I wish iTunes did that. But
you don't have to carry all your titles right there on the homepage where it might mess you up. Just load the titles you want to read, and when you're done with it, archive it.
yeah. Yes.
We keep talking about how it's much lighter than textbook, but it strikes me because of the lack of pagination that it might be very difficult to use in a class because you can't easily flip from one place to another in the book.
That's true. It does have locations, like basically paragraph numbers, which the librarians in the group know that AALL has been fighting for paragraph numbering for years, with no luck. But so you can't, like, if you had a classroom full of people using Kindles, you could just say go to location 6525 and they're there.
Yes, that presumes that
Right. Right. PDFs, of course, they are paid, so if you're reading PDFs, you can just go to the PDF. But yeah, that is a problem.
I wanted to mention, summarize a few things that the faculty told me. The law content, they wanted more legal publishers to make their books available on the Kindle. So there's a problem with the Kindle store having significant law content like the Hornbooks, nutshells, and so on, and casebooks. Jim and I differ a little bit. I think there's not a lot of useful law content in the Kindle store. He has a different opinion. They also said it's difficult to handle graphics and formulas and equations. So these are law and economics professors. They have a problem with Word documents, with that sort of thing reflecting on the Kindle. And one last thing, there's this idea that in the future, Kindle eBooks could have advertising in there.
I should mention, West has about 12 to 15 titles, mostly Hornbooks, nutshells, which they are releasing on the Kindle. And at the moment, I think they're just waiting for Amazon to let go of them. So they're about to try it out. So we'll see.
Let me just to clarify the difference that we're talking about. Yeah, West and Lexis do not have a lot of titles on the Amazon Kindle bookstore, but all the university presses do. All the treatises that anything like that. I've got all the Larry Lessig stuff, all the Fanny Soloff stuff on here. So yeah, there's a lot of law content, just not primary legal sources.
One more question.
Are they waterproof?
I'm not going to find out.
And can you use them on an airplane when they tell you to shut off?
Yes.
Yes.
That won't ask you to
Just
shut
turn off
it
the
down.
wireless. They probably don't know what it is yet.
So even when they say turn off all electronic devices, you can still.
They ignore you.
They don't realize we have Kindles.
Yeah, they don't know what it
That's
is.
not one of those
So
things
it doesn't have a light on it, so I don't think they realize that it's electronic.
It's the same with security. They don't know that we have Kindles. They don't care.
So if you're in a remote canyon in Wyoming, is wireless, you have to take on cell phones?
It uses the Sprint cellular network, so if you can get Sprint access, you can use it.
So you may not be able to buy anything from the Grand Canyon, but you can read everything you've got on it.
All right, well, thank you all very much. If you want to take a look, take me up here.